From this Lego Nerf gun that shoots real Nerf bullets, to this Cat in the Hat minifigure that'd be way better in real life. These are 99 items that Lego absolutely needs to make. Up first is an entire overview of every color Lego's ever used made into a set. The set was created by Doc Brick on Lego Ideas, and the only reason they even did this was because Lego merged with Bricklink back in 2022. Bricklink is the easiest way to find and purchase anything Lego's ever made. Whether it's a set, a rare minifigure, or a random piece from a set you built 10 years ago, I guarantee you Bricklink has it. You might be wondering why someone would even bother making a set like this though. Well, it's because Lego actually uses very specific names for their colors, but most times they'll use something more simple just to make it easier for the public. It's kind of like an encyclopedia, except way shorter and of course way cooler since it's about Lego. This is one that Lego should have made for sure, but you won't believe some of the other rejections in this video, so make sure you watch all the way until the end. Up next is probably one of the funniest Lego jokes I've ever seen made into a set. We're all familiar with the brick separator, right? You know, that weird orange thing that you only use if you really have to. Well, someone took that concept and made this, the Lego emergency box set. Let's be honest, we're really only whipping this bad boy out if there's a dire emergency. So this set is spot on to real life. Maybe Lego thought it was a waste of money or something, but in my opinion, fans would have eaten this set up. I mean, how often do you see Lego making a joke set about themselves? If anything's a joke though, it's the amount of times Lego rejected a Taylor Swift Lover House set. Now, I'm not a Swiftie, so I don't really know what the hype is around this house. From what I can tell, she had been quote-unquote building rooms with different albums over the years, and an album she dropped in 2022 completed the house. And this sparked an entire movement in the Lego community. 4 different Lover House sets were submitted to Lego Ideas in November of that year, and it only took 4 days. 2 of them were even submitted on the exact same day, but unfortunately, it didn't matter to Lego how many people wanted it. They still rejected all of them anyway. This next rejection is actually more of a Lego secret. I heard that if you aren't subscribed to my channel, Lego won't let you buy anything from them, even if it's online, so make sure you subscribe. Anyways, this wouldn't be a video about rejected Lego ideas if I didn't talk about a classic movie not getting a spot on the shelves, and this time around, it's Shrek. Lego's rejected so many different sets based on popular TV shows and movies. So many, in fact, that I could probably make an entire video about it. So if you want me to make one, let me know down in the comments. About Shrek though, this one is actually just as embarrassing as the Lover House rejections. Since 2022, 3 different Shrek Swamp sets have reached 10,000 supporters on Lego Ideas, and one of them even got it twice in 1 year. But knowing Lego, no matter how many times a set gets enough supporters, if they won't budge, they won't budge. There might be some hope for us yet though. With Shrek 5 coming out later this year, there's a chance Lego finally collabs with them, but only if the movie is received really well. Even then though, it might end up like the Night at the Museum sets, designed by Nicholas Carlier. The first time he uploaded this set in 2022, it got 10,000 supporters in just 2 months. This really isn't that surprising though. If you ever watched Night at the Museum growing up, then you know that this movie is super good. After the first rejection, Carlier made it his mission to make the set way better and re-upload it to Lego Ideas. And 2 years later, he was back with a completely new design. Instead of making the inside of the museum with no ceiling or walls like he did the first time, he cut the museum in half. Now, I like the first design a lot more, to be honest, but either way, it doesn't matter. We already know what happened to that new and improved version. Usually rejections for movies like this are pretty obvious, but the fact that Lego rejected this modular heritage museum set blows my mind. This set was made for the modular buildings theme, and just like that library from my second video on rejected ideas, this museum would fit perfectly in any Lego city. The modular buildings theme was made so that fans of Lego City could have an easier time building a city of their own. So every set that gets made for the theme goes a super long way. But I guess Lego and their fans are bound to disagree. And that definitely happened for this Lego Star Wars Jedi Council Chamber set. This build was put on Lego Ideas over 10 years ago, all the way back in 2015. Back then, Lego Ideas had a lot less members, but even then, the set still got 10,000 supporters in just 6 months, which is crazy. The only reason I can think that Lego would have wanted to reject this set was because they were about to release a bunch of sets for the Star Wars sequels that were coming out back then. The creator never resubmitted the set, but I have a funny feeling if they did, there'd be a big chance that Lego would change their mind this time around. One idea Lego is never changing their mind on though is a new and improved version of the Krusty Krab from SpongeBob. The first one came out all the way back in 2006, and the last time Lego even made a set for the theme in general was 2012. Now, even though the SpongeBob theme failed miserably in Lego's eyes, that isn't stopping fans from trying to get what they want. 3 different Krusty Krab sets have gotten 10,000 supporters and failed to review in the last 5 years, but 2 of them are from the same person. The first one was in 2020, the second one was in 2022, and the third one was that same one from 2022 re-uploaded in 2023. There have been 3 solid attempts made by LEGO fans, but I guess since the theme's retired, LEGO really has no desire to make it. But the problem with LEGO's desire to make sets is that it really just doesn't make sense sometimes. This is the Clockwork Solar System set, and it would blow every LEGO space set LEGO's ever released out of the water. Made by Chris Orchard and Brent Waller, not only is this set extremely accurate to the actual solar system, but the planets even rotate around the sun using a singular Technic motor. It doesn't end there though. These guys even made sure the planets rotate at 99.8% accuracy relative to how they do in real life. They definitely move a lot faster, but that's still super sick. The only problem is that this set's been submitted and rejected 3 times in the last 4 years, so odds are we're never seeing it on the shelves. However, this next set is the exact opposite. Back in 2020, LEGO officially collabed with IKEA. LEGO collabing with stores is nothing new, but the one thing they didn't do with IKEA was make a mini version of a store. So a fan decided to make it themselves and post it on LEGO Ideas. It was uploaded 2 years after the collab, so it's not like LEGO didn't have the licensing. The only thing is that IKEA stores are huge, so the creator made it as a modular building instead of a giant warehouse, which was probably pretty smart. Even then though, the set still got rejected, which really is a shame. But it's nowhere near as sad as this LEGO Dr. Seuss set getting rejected. Dr. Seuss is one of the most famous children's book writers of all time, so theoretically, LEGO would have no problem making a set with them, right? Wrong. They probably only rejected it because they didn't have the licensing, but if there's any set they should have went out of their way to make, it's this one. You get to build 3 of the most famous Dr. Seuss books ever written, and instead of them opening up to pages, they reveal some of the most iconic parts from each story. It's definitely a little messy, but LEGO could easily help fix that. They must really not like fan-made Christmas sets though, because they also rejected this Claus Toys Toy Store set too. This is another set that looks like it's straight from the modular buildings theme. And honestly, it'd be really cool if LEGO started making Christmas sets as a sub-theme in modular buildings. This set would fit perfectly in a wintry LEGO snow town. With all the minifigures, the decorations on the store, and everything else, it's literally perfect. LEGO releases Christmas-themed sets all the time too. Like Santa's Post Office and the Alpine Lodge are both on the website right now. But I guess LEGO just can't be reasoned with sometimes, because they rejected one of the coolest sets in this whole video, a working LEGO bike. When I say working, I don't mean that it's big enough for you to get on and ride yourself. That's something only Nathan Sawaya could probably do. So while it may not be life-sized, it still functions just like a regular bike. The pedals make the wheels move, the handle brakes actually work, and there's even a nice little kickstand too. I have to say, my jaw literally dropped when I saw the bike chain moving so smoothly, but I guess LEGO has way higher standards than me. Because not only did they reject this bike, but they rejected this insane LEGO travel suitcase set. Now on the outside, it doesn't look like much, but once you open it, it reveals a beautiful landscape remade out of LEGO bricks. The person who made this set says that whenever they travel, they never forget what they saw, and they wanted to recreate that same feeling out of LEGO bricks. I'm not exactly sure where they went to inspire this build, but I can tell it was amazing. This is a rejection that I just can't understand, especially from a business perspective. Like, imagine the suitcase was dedicated to a certain city in the world, and when you opened it up, you saw that city remade out of bricks. LEGO could have done this for so many different cities, and I think fans would have loved it. That seems to be the case for a lot of rejected ideas though. The fans like something, but LEGO doesn't, so they decide not to make it. But what happens when LEGO makes something both the fans and LEGO like? Well, you clicked on the video, so I guess we already know the answer. But still, look at this set based on all the different types of bridges in the world. This falls right in line with the world of civil engineering, which is a world that LEGO's been a part of for a super long time. It's a known fact that engineers use LEGO bricks to test their bridges before making them in real life. So the fact that LEGO rejected a set that directly relates to them is insane. And it's not like LEGO isn't proud to be a part of the engineering world. There's an entire page on their website dedicated to it. So this really is one that I just can't understand. The next rejection is the University of Brixton set, and the architecture here is super sick. The builder took inspiration from different British universities and bundled them all into one. They said they really liked how some of these old buildings are expanded with modern architecture, like the York Theatre in England, and I have to agree, because it makes for a super cool looking LEGO set. It comes with 8 different minifigures, and the inside is just what you'd expect. There are a bunch of different classrooms and common areas, and of course, the architecture on the inside matches what it looks like on the outside, bringing it all together. Maybe LEGO just thinks old-looking stuff like this won't do well though, because they also rejected this antique cabinet set. Now, I've never cared about real antiques before, but LEGO antiques? Sign me up. This would definitely be a super sick decorative piece, but what I want to talk about is how funny the antiques in the cabinet are. The creator used a bunch of different LEGO pieces and color matched them to fit with the rest of the set, which I think is hilarious. It's just a bunch of random pieces, which, funnily enough, is pretty accurate to real antiques. Then, of course, there's the random armchair tying it all together. This isn't something that LEGO would typically release, so I kind of understand rejecting it, but it definitely has its audience. The final rejection I want to show you, though, is this insane ancient Greek temple set. This is another one that just makes no sense to me, because not only did the creator put a ton of effort into it, but it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for LEGO to release something like this. They just recently released the Great Pyramid of Giza set, and obviously it's supposed to be what the pyramids looked like when they were originally made. But do you see what I mean? The ancient Greek temple set is literally the same thing, just in a different country. Ancient Greece has some of the most beautiful architecture in all of history. Their temples are literally known for being some of the most well-made buildings ever, just like the pyramids of Giza. I really do feel bad for the person that made this, because this set definitely deserves to be on the shelf. This is the Art of Japan set, and let's just be honest for a second, this one is way cooler than the postcard set. It's not like there's anything wrong with it, but the colors and the amount of detail make the Art of Japan set way better. This set was actually submitted to LEGO Ideas by His Brick Materials, and got 10,000 supporters a few weeks ago, so there's a chance that LEGO does actually bring this set to life. This Art of Japan set is definitely super sick, but there are some items in this video that you won't believe, so make sure you watch all the way until the end of the video. Up next is one of the coolest Easter eggs in Pixar made into a LEGO set, the Pizza Planet truck. If you don't know the story here, allow me to tell you about one of the best secrets about the Pixar movies. This truck was used to deliver pizzas for a store called Pizza Planet in Toy Story, but it's had a cameo in quite literally every single Pixar movie to date besides The Incredibles. It's never obvious, but you can always find it. A set like this feels like it's right up LEGO's alley. I mean, we all know how much they love Easter eggs. They've literally included the A113 Easter egg from Pixar in the Spy Jet Escape set in the Cars theme. So the Pizza Planet truck really isn't that far of a stretch. This set only has a little over 5,000 supporters on LEGO Ideas though, so if you want to see it on the shelves, go support it. While I'm talking about sets that need your help, I have to show you this LEGO Daft Punk concert set. This is by far one of the coolest LEGO sets I've ever seen. I'm personally a part of Gen Z, so I heard Daft Punk all the time growing up, and being able to build them out of my favorite childhood toy would be a dream come true. But even if you don't like Daft Punk as much as me, you have to admit, this set is crazy. From the giant pyramid that the duo are on top of, to the lights, and of course the minifigures, this is one that at least deserves a chance at LEGO's review. It has about 9,400 supporters right now, so I'm gonna recruit you guys again. Go show some support. Okay, I've done enough recruiting. So up next is something that we can all agree LEGO needs to make. But before that, I heard that if you don't subscribe to my channel in the next 5 seconds, Lord Business is gonna give you bad luck forever. So go save yourself and subscribe. Did you do it? I hope so, because time's up. Now, about that thing we can all agree on, it has to do with the LEGO Mario theme. This theme has been out for almost 5 years now, but if you look at a bunch of sets from it, you might notice that something's missing. There isn't a single minifigure in any of these sets. I don't have to tell you guys how much I like minifigures. I mean, just look at my channel name. But I know for a fact I'm not alone. Minifigures are easily one of LEGO's top 2 best ideas ever, and it's definitely not 2. I mean, it's part of the reason why the old Pirates theme is loved so much. All LEGO did was give those guys new faceplates, and people ate them up like candy on Halloween. If anybody from LEGO is watching this, please, just make some minifigures for the Mario theme. They'd be so cool. While you're at it though, do me a favor and put in a good word for this Gravity Falls Mystery Shack. This set recently got 10,000 supporters on LEGO Ideas and is getting reviewed as we speak. The set was submitted by Mini Brick Productions, but unfortunately, there's a chance it won't make it through the review. You see, this isn't Mini Brick's first rodeo. They've already submitted this set to LEGO Ideas, gotten 10,000 supporters, and failed the review, which, by the way, happened in 2023. So while odds are low that we finally are getting a LEGO Gravity Falls set, they aren't zero. Let's just hold out hope. However, if I had to pick one set to root for in this round's review, it'd have to be this LEGO Appa set. This would be one of the best comebacks in LEGO history. It's been so long since we've gotten a new Avatar set. We all know the story there. We got 2 sets way back in the day, but then LEGO never made any more of them, and now those 2 sets are worth a disgusting amount of money. Come on, LEGO, just let the people live out their childhood dreams and release the Appa set, and don't even think about not including some minifigures. Speaking of minifigures, this next set would come with 11 of them. I'm talking about the Grand Central Station set. If you didn't know, Grand Central Station is one of the biggest and oldest train stations in New York City. And side note, it also looks super cool. Unfortunately, the set and LEGO ideas for this train station doesn't quite capture how grand it really is. But you'd need way too many pieces for that, so I can't really be surprised. Honestly, if LEGO doesn't let this set pass their review, I wouldn't be shocked if they made a giant version themselves and put it in the architecture theme. It fit very nicely. But instead of praying that LEGO makes something, let me show you this Man on the Sea set. This one is just downright beautiful. With all the colors, the details in the ocean, and the giant swordfish bringing it all together, it truly is a masterpiece. The creator of this set, Ian Ha, made it based on the book The Old Man and the Sea by Ernest Hemingway. But you don't need to know about the book to appreciate the work of art that is this set. Ha must have a special place in his heart for the book though, because not only did he include a quote in the set, but he also made a little podium with a mini version of the book, and made the set itself look like it's popping out of the middle of a book. I mean, he really hit every nail on the head here. Seeing as how well LEGO nature sets do, there's a chance this one makes it onto the shelves. But if I'm going to talk about nature, then I have to show you this Jumanji board game set. If you've never seen the movie Jumanji, you might have heard of it because of the remake with Kevin Hart. But in the original, the movie is centered around a board game. The creator of this set, Bricktacular Builds, is a longtime Jumanji fan and made sure the LEGO version was perfect in every way possible. First of all, the outside of it looks just like how it did in the movie. It even has the arrow going through the middle of the word and everything. Second of all, it opens up and comes with the 4 game pieces and a pair of dice. But by far the coolest part is that you can find an adult Alan Parrish minifigure in the middle of the board game, which is where he got sucked into and trapped in the jungle for all those years. It's genuinely a perfect remake, and so is this next set too. This is the LEGO Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated set, and I wasn't lying when I said it was a perfect remake, at least on the outside. There isn't much that needs to be said here. We all know a Phineas and Ferb set would feed families. The thing is though, it's in a pretty similar situation to the Gravity Falls set. 3 different Phineas and Ferb sets have been rejected by LEGO over the years, one of them being a Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated set made by the same person. So the odds aren't really in our favor, again. However, this next set is one of the coolest ideas for a LEGO set ever, so this one might actually get made. I'm talking about the Cliffside House set, and I don't know about you, but I've definitely never seen a LEGO set that was made to be mounted on a wall. The only downside to this set is that you have to drill 5 screws into the wall if you want to display it properly. So there's a chance LEGO sees that and decides not to go for it, but that's quite literally the only downside. Obviously, the set itself is super sick, but the creator even used LEGO pieces to mount the set on the screws, which is super good thinking. They also said that it has incredible stability after months of being mounted, which is very important to know. If I saw this in stores, I'd buy it no questions asked, but not before I picked up this Geometry Dash Cube set. Just like the Cliffside House, the creator really thought outside of the box with this one. I'm assuming they took some inspiration from the Mario Cube set, and considering how well that set did, that'd make a lot of sense. And just like that first cube, this second one is packed full of references. The set comes with 10 figurines, all of which are used in the game. And of course, there are some direct references on top of the set. But if you turn it around, there are 2 back panels that can be removed. And one of them reveals a direct reference to the first level in the game, Stereo Madness, which is super sick. I think we can all agree that LEGO needs to make more sets based on video games like this one. But another one they need to add to their roster is this PlayStation 2 set. Going off LEGO's track record for video game consoles, this one in particular actually doesn't make much sense. So far, we have the Atari 2600 and the original Nintendo Entertainment System, which were both the first consoles made by each company. So it'd make a lot more sense if LEGO made the first ever PlayStation into a set. But I don't even care. This one looks so good and it's under review right now, so there's no way I'd talk about a different one. The creator not only made it 1-to-1 in size, but in looks and functionality too. It has a circuit board on the inside, a fan for cooling, and you can even plug in the controller. There's also a makeshift disc tray and disc reader, and USB ports too. I mean, this person really went all out. And as cool as it is, they didn't go quite as hard as the person who made this working card shuffler. We've all had to have been there at least once. You go to shuffle a deck of cards and they either fly everywhere or you literally just can't do it. You know what's way easier than shuffling cards though? Building with Lego bricks. This thing was made to make playing card games way easier, and of course it looks insane too. It's powered by motors from Lego Technic, but if you don't want to rely on those, there's also a lever that lets you use the machine manually. In terms of functional Lego sets, this one is definitely one of the best, especially since it can be used in real-world scenarios. It's the perfect cure for boredom, right next to this Lego remake of the famous game Tetris. Tetris is one of the most simple video games ever made, but that's part of what made it so addicting back in the day. I doubt there's a single person who hasn't heard of this game before, so a Lego set for it makes perfect sense. Just like the card shuffler, this set is functional too, which makes it way better. Now, because of how Tetris works, the Lego version could never truly recreate it. The pieces are all supposed to be random and fall at a certain speed to try and mess you up. But with the Lego one, you choose every piece you use, and the second you drop it, it falls. Still though, it doesn't have to be perfect to be considered a good set. Lego can easily help make it better if they want to, and I can say the same thing about this Smurf set. This one was made by the Half-Blood Baron and is a nice little set of the Smurfs village. These guys are a classic in the cartoon world. It's another name that everybody's heard of, and it would fit right in with the Lego Flintstones set, which came from Lego ideas just like this Smurf set. Because of this one, it's obvious that Lego at least has some love for classic cartoons, so this Smurf set being put on the shelves isn't that far of a long shot. Who knows, we might even see a Lego Jetsons set if we get really lucky, but to be honest, odds are Lego sticks with their roots, and this pirate-themed restaurant set is right up their alley. The creator of this set quite literally took two of Lego's most successful themes and combined them into one: pirates and modular buildings. The pirates theme has long been one of the most famous Lego themes. I mean, I already brought it up once in this video, but there's way more to it than what I've already talked about. And the modular buildings theme, well, it may be decently new comparatively, but it's still super popular. I wasn't just saying that the creator had the modular buildings theme in mind when they made this set, by the way. It can be separated by its floors just like the ones from that theme. And get this, they're compatible with sets from the modular buildings theme. Isn't that crazy? I'm not exactly sure how they were able to do this, but all that matters is that they did. This set is on Lego Ideas right now, and somehow it only has a little over 2,200 supporters. I personally think this set would get eaten up by Lego lovers, so if you believe in the vision, go show some support. Lego Ideas has been around since 2008, but not very many sets have passed Lego's extensive reviews. So in this video, I'm going to show you some ideas that Lego didn't reject, and some of them are super surprising, so make sure you watch all the way until the end of the video. Up first is the 1-2-3 Sesame Street set. The idea was submitted on October 20th, 2017, and the set didn't come out until 2020, so it took a long time for the set to gain traction. Oh, by the way, for a set to be reviewed by Lego, it needs to get 10,000 supporters first, which this set got on May 10th, 2019. It got reviewed in the same month, which usually never happens since Lego only reviews ideas a few times a year. But on September 26th, 2019, the set officially passed Lego's review. Typically, sets take around 18 months to get put on the shelves after approval, but this one did it in just over a year. It's pretty crazy that Lego made a Sesame Street set because of a fan, but some of the other sets in this video are way crazier, so keep watching. Up next, I actually want to show you the first set Lego ever accepted from a fan. This is the Lego Shinkai Submarine, and it was put on the shelves all the way back in 2010. I can't find the original listing for this set, but that's because back when it was released, Lego Ideas wasn't actually called Lego Ideas. Back then, it was called Kuzu, and it was exclusive to Japan. So when this set was released, it was only put on the shelves there. Since Lego didn't have to distribute a ton of these sets like usual, they only made 10,000 copies. Combine that with the fact that this is the first fan-made Lego set ever released, and you get a set that's pretty rare and expensive. It's a big piece of Lego history for sure, but let's move on to the next idea. This is the Lego Table Football set, made by Hassan Jensen, and it's honestly a super sick set. If you've ever seen the game Foosball, it's pretty much just like that, except smaller and made out of bricks. The coolest part about this set though has to be the fact that Jensen used minifigures as players for the game. Because of this, the set comes with a ton of them, 22 to be exact, and I mean, who doesn't love a set with a ton of minifigures? Oh, but did I mention that this set is actually functional? Yeah, once you build this set, you end up with a mini Lego foosball table that you can really play. This definitely makes it way cooler, but I don't think it's anywhere near as cool as this next idea. Before I show you it though, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I post Lego videos like this one every single week. Now, let's look at that really cool set. This is a Lego book, and I know that sounds boring, but just let me cook. Once you put together the 859 pieces, it magically turns into a pop-up book. That's not all though. Since this is a book, that means there has to be a story inside, right? Well, there are enough pieces in this set to build two super famous stories, Little Red Riding Hood and Jack and the Beanstalk. And I have to say, when you build the giant beanstalk, it definitely doesn't look like the book will close, but it actually does. Usually, I'd say how good the LEGO designers are at their job, but remember, this set was made by a fan, so that makes it way more impressive. This set is definitely super sick. We all know about the LEGO Minecraft theme, right? Well, what if I told you that it only exists because of LEGO ideas? Think I'm lying? Well, take a look at this. This is the LEGO Minecraft Micro World Forest set, and it came out over a year before the LEGO Minecraft theme officially got its first set in 2013. Since this set is so old, it was actually submitted to Kuzu, just like the Shankai Submarine. But at that point, LEGO had already started releasing sets from Kuzu to the whole world. It was actually submitted by Mojang Studios themselves. After this, it'd be pretty stupid if LEGO didn't make a theme for Minecraft, and I'm pretty sure they're happy they did, since Minecraft is literally one of the biggest games ever. This set has a pretty crazy story behind it, but this next idea has an even crazier one. This is the LEGO Ship in a Bottle set. But here's the thing. For some reason, LEGO released two different versions of this set that look exactly the same. The first one came out back in February of 2018 and was retired in December of 2019. Usually when a set is around for that long, they either never see the shelves again or come back after a super long time. But after less than a year, the Ship in a Bottle set was back on the shelves. LEGO fans thought this was pretty weird, so they decided to get to the bottom of it. It ended up being a super small detail hidden in plain sight. For some reason, the second version of the set has 9 more pieces than the first version. But here's the thing, nobody knows if this is actually true. People have talked all about it on Reddit, but most of it seems to be speculation. The general consensus though, there are 9 more transparent blue pieces for the water. That's it. It doesn't really make sense why LEGO would do something like this, and they haven't given an official reason, so it looks like this case is going to be open-ended for a long time. Up next is one of the best fan services in LEGO history. This is the LEGO Pirates of Barracuda base set, and LEGO fans absolutely love this set. It came out in April of 2020, and if you couldn't tell, it's based on the OG LEGO Pirates theme, one of the most important themes in LEGO history. LEGO Pirates came out all the way back in 1989, and with the theme came brand new faceplates for minifigures. Along with this, the sets were way cooler than anything LEGO had released before, so the theme was an instant hit. With all of this in mind, it makes complete sense why the Barracuda base set passed LEGO's review. I mean, it looks identical to the sets from back in the day. But if we're gonna get nostalgic, then I have to show you this next set. This is the LEGO DeLorean set, and just like with the LEGO Minecraft theme, a fan got an idea on the shelves before the real set was even a thing. The one from today came out in 2022, but the idea came out all the way back in 2013. It was the 4th project published under the Kuzu project at the time, and even though it's not as good as the one we have today, it's still pretty cool that a fan was able to get LEGO to make a DeLorean almost 10 years before the official set came out. It only has 401 pieces, so it's pretty small, but the minifigures are sick. Obviously, they're Marty McFly and Doc, the 2 main characters in the movies, so you really can't go wrong here. If you thought that was cool though, check out the Big Bang Theory set. The Big Bang Theory is a super popular show from the early 2000s that ran for over 10 years. This is another one of those sets that you really wouldn't expect LEGO to make just because 10,000 fans asked them to. This was one of the biggest shows on CBS when it was still airing, and wanna know something crazy? This set was released while new episodes were still being made for the show, so the fan timed this idea perfectly. It seems like LEGO gets a lot of ideas for themes from their fans, and this next set is only going to prove that point even more. This is the LEGO NASA Mars Rover set, and just like I said, this set came out before the LEGO NASA theme was around. But the story here is way different than what I've already talked about. This Mars rover was the first official set in the LEGO Ideas theme based on a NASA project. But before this, people didn't realize that this was something LEGO would actually do. So when it happened, way more people started submitting ideas based on NASA. It took a long time, but 3 years later, LEGO released 2 more NASA-based sets in the Ideas theme, which officially meant that LEGO Ideas had a NASA sub-theme. Since then, only 2 more sets have been added to this sub-theme, one of which is a dupe just like the ship in a bottle. But it all goes back to that Mars rover set. If it wasn't for that fan taking a shot in the dark, we might not have the NASA sub-theme at all. It's really cool seeing that a company as big as LEGO is so involved with their community. So let's move on to the next set. This is the LEGO Treehouse set, and honestly, there isn't anything too special about this set. It just looks really good. It comes with 3,036 pieces, and once you put them all together, you get a nice cozy treehouse with some surprisingly functional capabilities. First of all, every plant piece in this set is made from recycled plant-based plastic, which is super thoughtful of LEGO. But along with this, you get 2 different sets of leaves for the tree, one for fall and one for spring. You can also remove the roofs of the cabins and look inside once the set is fully built. And there's also this cool little wind-up crane you can use to bring items up and down the tree. Overall, this set is just super tasteful, and it's what we all love to see from LEGO. So why don't we look at another one? This is the LEGO Botanical Garden set, and unlike every other set in this video so far, this one actually isn't retired yet. It's one of the most recent ideas to pass LEGO's review, and it's super sick. It comes with 3,792 pieces, so it's definitely not a small set, but most of the pieces are used for extremely small details. If I'm being honest, this set is an architectural masterpiece. From the glass windows, the balconies, and all the curves in this set, I mean honestly, I didn't even know stuff like this was possible with LEGO. If it isn't on your buy list yet, then it definitely should be. And don't kill me, but I actually have one more for you. This is the LEGO Dungeons and Dragons set, and just like the Botanical Garden, this set is also still widely available. Even if you don't like Dungeons and Dragons, or you're like me and you've just never played it, you have to admit, this set is sick. Obviously, one of the coolest parts about this set is front and center, the giant dragon, but there's loads of other cool stuff here. This set is 100% lore accurate. From the minifigures to the animals and even the gelatinous cube, it's all here. This is one of the only LEGO sets that truly has a dark fantasy vibe to it. And for that reason alone, I think this is by far one of the best sets LEGO's ever accepted from ideas. But if Dungeons and Dragons just isn't your cup of tea, then maybe this next set will be. This is the LEGO WALL-E set. And yes, LEGO has actually made a WALL-E set that isn't from Brickheads. This set came out all the way back in 2015, and at that point, LEGO had long since collabed with Disney, so legally, this wasn't a problem. WALL-E is one of the best kids movies from the early 2000s, so it's awesome to see that he can be built out of LEGO bricks. The set only has 676 pieces, but let's be honest, this one looks way better than the one we got from Brickheads. I mean, that thing is just cursed. Speaking of cursed, I can't really tell if this next set is cool or creepy. This is the LEGO Flintstone set, and it came out almost 6 years ago in 2019. I have to say, out of every LEGO set made after a TV show, this one might be the most surprising. The Flintstones was absolutely massive way back in the day, but it hasn't been very popular with kids for a super long time, so the person who submitted this idea was probably pretty old. Honestly, I'm over it. This set is definitely cool. The minifigures alone give this set a big boost in my book, and the prehistoric car is literally perfect. The Flintstones are one of the pillars of cartoons, so seeing them in LEGO is really cool. This last set, though, is probably one of the funniest LEGO sets I've ever seen. This is the LEGO Space Rocket Ride set, and there's actually way more to it than you might think. This set actually won a competition on LEGO Ideas called the Moments in Space competition. After it won, it was given away for free at LEGO stores, and was even given away on the LEGO website with qualified items. The set only comes with 154 pieces, so it's definitely on the smaller side, but I still think it's really cool. It reminds me of one of those little rides that you put a quarter in, like the one Patrick Star was riding in his dream that one time, except LEGO. There are way more ideas that LEGO's accepted from the LEGO Ideas Forum. This is the LEGO Cybertruck, and even if you don't like how the truck looks in real life, I think we can all admit that it looks pretty cool as a LEGO set. This concept was posted on LEGO Ideas all the way back in December of 2019, just 1 month after Elon Musk revealed the first truck for the very first time. It took a little over 2 months, but the idea ended up getting the 10,000 supporters it needed to get reviewed, and it also got a staff pick right after it hit 1,000 supporters, which is super rare. Unfortunately though, 8 months after the set got 10,000 supporters, it was officially announced that the idea would not be getting made into reality. Who knows though, maybe now that the real Cybertruck is actually being manufactured, LEGO might come back to this idea. If you thought this LEGO idea was cool though, then you definitely have to watch until the end of the video. There are some sets in here that you do not want to miss out on. Up next is a set based on one of the biggest songs of all time. This is the I Want to Break Free set from the band Queen. Queen was an absolutely massive band back in the 1970s and 80s, and the song this set is based on is in their top 10 biggest songs of all time. The music video for this song was first shown on MTV, and it was loved all over the world. Right now, the official music video on YouTube is sitting at 560 million views, so that gives you a pretty good idea of how big this song really is. Even with all of these factors though, it took the set over 2 years to reach 10,000 supporters, which is a super long time for LEGO Ideas. After this, the set got reviewed, but unfortunately, we already know the outcome. It got flat out rejected. To be honest, this doesn't really make a lot of sense, since Queen is literally one of the biggest bands of all time. But this next idea is guaranteed to make you scratch your head. This is an idea for a LEGO Apple store, and you won't believe how old it is. This idea was submitted all the way back in March of 2012. Man, that is old. Since it's so old, the pictures for it aren't too great, and there aren't a lot of them either, but that doesn't take away from the idea. The Apple stores are some of the coolest stores ever, and they have been for a really long time. Now, even though this idea doesn't really do the stores justice, it's the idea itself that matters. LEGO could have easily used this idea and spiced it up a little bit with their building skills, but instead they just rejected it in November of 2014. Don't lose hope though. If you really want to see a LEGO Apple Store set, there's a brand new one on LEGO Ideas right now that's almost at 10,000 supporters. This one is clearly leagues above the one from 2012, so there's a real chance that this one gets made. Go support it. If you guys are enjoying this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I post LEGO videos like this every single week. Anyways, let's get back to the video. Up next is an idea based on an internet sensation. This is the LEGO Spot set, a robot dog made by Boston Dynamics. Before I get into the specifics of this idea, let me tell you a little bit about the original robot dog. Boston Dynamics has been working on robot dogs for a super long time now, with their first one being Big Dog in 2005. Since then, they've made a ton of improvements and have given them a lot of different names, but Spot is by far the most popular. In 2021, when the set was posted on LEGO Ideas, Spot was their latest and greatest robot dog. It was all over the internet, so it makes sense that someone wanted a LEGO set of it. In less than 2 months, the idea got the 10,000 followers it needed to be reviewed, which isn't super fast, but it's much better than the 2 years it took for the Queen set. As cool as this set would have been though, LEGO just couldn't see the vision and officially rejected it in February of 2022. Up next is a set based on one of the biggest movies of our generation, Coraline. Unlike the movie, this set doesn't show any of the scary stuff, like the other mother in her spider form, which definitely helped them in the review process. Instead of buttons for eyes, this set is just Coraline's house in the beginning of the movie, with all of the characters we met in the first world. This idea is pretty old, having been submitted in March of 2018, but Coraline's a pretty old movie, so honestly, this submission itself was pretty late. Even with how big this movie is, it took the idea over 2 years to get 10,000 supporters, which is a real shame. People were probably hoping to see some stuff from the other world, and since they didn't support it. Regardless though, the set was reviewed and rejected, closing the case on a LEGO Coraline set. For now. Up next is a tribute to the Chocolate Factory set from the LEGO Town theme. This set was made back in 1978, so obviously it's super old. It's cool because it's vintage LEGO, but getting your hands on one of these sets is basically impossible in today's market. So a person by the name of Lepra Lego decided to take this old set and completely revamp it. This is the LEGO House of Chocolate set, and I have to say, this is extremely well done. It's a 2-story house-like factory that does nothing except make chocolate. What's not to like here? The idea was submitted in November of 2020 and got 10,000 supporters in April of 2021. That's only 6 months, so that's how you know this set is a good one. Originally, the idea was only posted using 3D modeling, but in January of 2021, Lepra Lego added an update to his post and showed us pictures of the set in real life. The masterpiece looks even better in person, which doesn't surprise me, but unfortunately, this story does not have a happy ending. In October of 2021, LEGO announced that they rejected the set. Honestly, out of all the ideas so far in this video, this one probably makes the least amount of sense. This is classic LEGO at its finest, and yet somehow the reviewers just couldn't see it. This next idea though, might make you change your opinion on LEGO. I mean, this was just a slimy move. Before I show you it though, let me ask you a question. You know about the Office set, right? This set was released in October of 2022, so not too long ago. Well, what if I told you that LEGO rejected an idea for the Office set 3 years before they released the one that we have now? This is the original one, which just like the one that got released, was also put on LEGO Ideas. If I was the person who made this, I would have been absolutely fuming. I mean, like, this just isn't fair. Not only was this person a whole 4 years early since they posted the idea in January of 2018, but it's basically identical to the one that got released. I don't know. In my opinion, this is super messed up from LEGO. I mean, the official set was also from the Ideas forum, so why even reject the first one? Whatever, let's just get on to the next idea. Up next is one of the coolest functional LEGO sets I've ever seen. This is a working LEGO waterfall. And no, it doesn't have actual water in it. Instead, the builder used clear blue LEGO pieces to represent the water. Pretty clever. The set has a front and a back, both of which have some super cool details. The front is obviously the waterfall, but the back is a giant mine shaft with dynamite, fire, and a minecart with gold inside of it. The back of the set is also where you can see how the waterfall actually works. Even though it looks impossible from the front, the back makes you realize just how simple it really is. After the pieces get dropped in the lake, they get carried to the back of the mountain by a conveyor belt. After this, they get picked up by some vehicle tracks attached to a few motors, and from here they reach the top of the mountain, fall down, and start the process all over again. This idea was submitted in December of 2019, and just 4 months later, it hit 10,000 supporters. As we already know though, the set got rejected by LEGO, so I guess we should just move on to the next idea. This is the LEGO Wallace and Gromit set, submitted on October 16th, 2020. You might be wondering why I just said the exact date for this idea, but trust me, it'll all make sense. Wallace and Gromit, like Coraline, is another classic for Gen Z. In case you don't know how big these two are, let me try and put it into perspective. The original animation came out way back in 1989, but in the current year of 2024, there's a brand new Wallace and Gromit movie on Netflix. And even crazier than this, the movie got a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know how hard that is? Now that you know this, I want you to guess how long it took the LEGO idea to reach 10,000 supporters. I'll give you a few seconds. Okay, got your answer? If you said anywhere near 45 days, I'll consider it correct, because that's exactly how long it took. Now, I know we already know the outcome of the review, but let's be honest for a second. We all know that this set should have been put on the shelves. I feel like the only reason it didn't was because LEGO just couldn't get the creators of Wallace and Gromit to agree to it. But hopefully, now that they have a new movie on Netflix, we'll see something Wallace and Gromit related happen with LEGO, because this really would be an awesome set to have. Anyways, let's move on to the next idea. This is the LEGO Boeing 737, and since we already know it got rejected, let me tell you why this is one of the dumbest ones in this video. First of all, everyone knows Boeing. It's the name people think of when you hear the word airplane, so it's iconic. But that isn't even why I think this rejection is dumb. The Boeing 737 in specific is one of the most popular planes Boeing has ever created. The first one was made all the way back in 1967, and to this day, a ton of major airlines still use them to fly all over the world. I'm talking American Airlines, Delta, United, Southwest, the list goes on and on. But, of course, even with all of these factors, LEGO still rejected the set. I swear, some of these rejections genuinely make no sense. However, this next one makes a lot of sense. This is a LEGO particle accelerator. Yes, you heard me correctly, and in case you think it doesn't work, here's a clip of it doing just that. Now, I know it isn't going very fast, but that's the thing about particle accelerators. Their speed gets exponentially faster. In case it wasn't obvious enough, this is an extreme safety hazard, so there's no way that LEGO would ever release something like this. As cool as it is, I have to give this one to LEGO. This rejection was 100% necessary. I mean, just imagine the amount of lawsuits that would be flying in the day this set got released. Anyways, getting back to the rejections that make no sense, this next idea fits perfectly. This is the LEGO Indiana Jones trilogy set, and off rip, this already looks like something that LEGO would release themselves. It's only 650 pieces, and even though that's a pretty low number, the builder was able to do so much with them. The set shows 3 super important locations from every Indiana Jones movie. There's the Temple of Doom from the Temple of Doom movie, the Well of Souls in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the Temple of the Sun in The Last Crusade. All of these are iconic in the Indiana Jones series, so the fact that LEGO rejected it just doesn't add up. I mean, it's not like they don't have access to the Indiana Jones franchise. The LEGO theme's been going since 2008. This one definitely left a bad taste in my mouth, but this next one might be even worse. This is the LEGO Mexico City set, and I don't know about you, but this set looks oddly familiar. Just kidding, I know why it looks familiar. It's because this set would fit perfectly into the LEGO architecture theme. In case you haven't seen it before, let me tell you about it. The architecture theme is more famously known for sets like the Taj Mahal and the Great Pyramid of Giza, but there's way more to this theme than just historical monuments. There are a ton of small sets in this theme that show off cities and countries from all over the world. There's a set for Paris, New York City, London, Singapore, but you know what city there isn't a set for? Mexico City. Based on what LEGO's already made, it's obvious that they want to make sets for cities with iconic architecture. But the problem here is that Mexico City has that. If you search up Mexico City on Google Images, you'll see a ton of pictures of the Palace of Fine Arts. It's their most famous building, but it isn't the only one they have. The set submitted to LEGO Ideas shows off the city in the best way possible and fits perfectly into the LEGO architecture theme. Unfortunately though, it got rejected in February of 2019, so let's move on to the last idea. Last but certainly not least is this LEGO 1950s diner. If there's one thing about American diners, it's that they looked way better in the 1950s. In case any of you watching have never seen one before, this LEGO set is actually very accurate to what they looked like in real life. The checkerboard floors, the chrome bar stools, I mean, this set is spot on. The idea was submitted in March of 2016 and got 10,000 10,000 supporters in December of 2016. It definitely took a little while, but for a set like this, it honestly doesn't matter. I think something like this would fit perfectly into LEGO's catalog. Diners from that era truly were something else. This is the new and improved one I was talking about before, submitted by Adam Mark. Unlike the one LEGO already released back in 1999, the one made by Mark depicts what McDonald's looked like back in the 1950s and 60s when it was first made. Mark clearly did his research too, because this set looks amazing. Not only are the minifigures wearing the uniforms from back in the day, but he even recreated the Speedy system that McDonald's was known for back then. By the way, this system is what created the term fast food, since everything was prepared and handed out to the customer so quickly. It's clearly a super important piece of food history, so the fact that LEGO rejected it really just does not make sense. I guess you can't win them all though, so let's just move on to the next reject. This is the LEGO Krusty Burger from The Simpsons, and if I'm being honest, this rejection actually makes a lot of sense. In case you didn't know, LEGO Simpsons actually was a real LEGO theme not too long ago. The first set under the theme was the Simpsons house, which was released back in 2014. Here's the thing though. Only one other set was made under the LEGO Simpsons theme, the Quickie Mart, and it was a whole year later in 2015. After this, LEGO never made another set for The Simpsons, and eventually retired the theme in 2017. It wasn't for no reason though. Since The Simpsons is known to have some adult themes in the show, a lot of parents were very upset that LEGO would promote a show like that to kids. LEGO definitely didn't want to be on anyone's bad side, so this is why the theme was retired so quickly. Tying this back to the Krusty Burger idea though, this set was presented in May of 2020, 3 years after this whole scandal was resolved. In my opinion, LEGO has literally no reason to make a Simpsons set again after what happened last time, so this rejection was definitely justified. What do you think though? Do you think LEGO was right to reject this set, or should they just ignore the angry parents and bring back the Simpsons theme? Let me know down in the comments. Up next is a rejected idea for one of the best Christmas movies ever, The Polar Express. Presented by Mini Brick Productions back in December of 2020, this idea is an absolute banger. In case you don't believe me though, this set got 10,000 supporters in just 2 months. That's right, in February of 2021, this idea was already set to be reviewed by LEGO, which is genuinely crazy. Most times, these ideas take months or even years to get 10,000 supporters. So the fact that this idea got it so fast is insane. Let's take a look at it though, so we can see for ourselves why it got so much support. Off rip, it's already obvious that this LEGO train is extremely accurate to the one from the movie, and the minifigures just make the set even better. It comes with 8 in total and features the characters we all know and love. Even with all of this though, it wasn't enough to pass LEGO's review. I don't know what type of test LEGO puts these sets through, but they must be something crazy. I mean, the Polar Express definitely should have passed. Moving on from that though, this next idea is based on one of the most popular games of the last 5 years, Among Us. We all know the game Among Us, and odds are we've all played it too. When it first came out, it was one of the most fun games ever, but even just 6 months later, the hype was dying down a lot, and the game just didn't feel the same anymore. This is probably the biggest reason why LEGO rejected the idea. The set itself is super cool and perfectly depicts the original map when the game first came out, and I honestly really liked the idea of converting the Among Us style characters into LEGO astronauts. This idea was presented around the game's peak in December of 2020 and didn't get 10,000 supporters until April of 2021. By this point, the game was pretty much dead, so honestly it isn't surprising that LEGO decided not to make it. But this next rejection is one I don't think I'll ever get over. As we all know, LEGO Star Wars is one of the biggest LEGO themes in history. Combining the popularity of Star Wars with LEGO, there was no way it could have failed. As a result, fans of LEGO Star Wars have been coming up with their own sets and posting them on LEGO Ideas for a long time now. And one of the best ideas ever is the Luke, I am your father scene. This is one of the most well-known scenes in the entire franchise, so making a LEGO set for it just makes sense. But apparently LEGO didn't agree. Now, I know that the pictures provided by the creator aren't the best, but this is something that can easily be fixed by LEGO. Luke and Vader will get their faceplates, and the bricks will look more like LEGO. But apparently LEGO decided that all of this wasn't worth it and rejected the set anyway. I have to say, LEGO, this is a bad miss from you guys. This set is a great idea. This next rejection though had the LEGO community up in arms. On October 27th, 2021, an idea submitted by Puzz LEGO hit the ideas forum. This wasn't just any idea though. The idea was a Rubik's Cube that the creator claimed actually worked. Spoiler spoiler alert, it did. And this wasn't the first time Puzz Lego made a working Rubik's Cube out of Lego. In fact, the first one he made was back in 2020, and he even posted a video of the cube to his YouTube channel and broke down how to make it step by step. The video did extremely well and inspired Puzz to make an even better version of the cube. Around a year later, on October 3rd, 2021, Puzz uploaded a new Lego Rubik's Cube video to his channel. But in case you didn't notice, this still isn't the one he posted on Lego Ideas. The video went absolutely viral, having over 12 million views today, but he still decided to improve the cube one last time. The third and final video was posted the same day he posted the cube on Lego Ideas, October 27th, and you won't believe how fast it got 10,000 supporters. In just 6 days, Puzz Lego's working Rubik's Cube reached 10,000 supporters, which is an unheard of amount of time. Even after all of this though, the videos on YouTube, the insane amount of support from fans, and just the sheer size of the entire operation, Lego rejected the idea. I like to imagine that they did this because they need some sort of deal with Rubik's Cube to make this set legally, because there's no way they could have ignored everything that went into making this idea. Sorry, I know I've been yapping about Rubik's Cubes for a while now, so let's get on to the next rejected idea. Up next is an idea based on a super popular TV show from Cartoon Network, Steven Universe. The idea was submitted by Brick Cucumber in May of 2020, and unfortunately, this idea never even got the 10,000 supporters it needs to get reviewed. This really is a shame though, because Brick Cucumber put a ton of work into this set. Not only are the builds extremely accurate to the show, but the minifigures look incredible. Since the idea was originally posted, Brick Cucumber gave tons of updates and was adding new stuff left and right. It mostly consisted of new minifigures of different characters from the show, which I think we can all agree is a great idea. Everybody loves minifigures. Unfortunately though, the idea is now expired, so I don't think Lego will be making a Steven Universe theme anytime soon. Up next is one of the most beloved movies among Gen Z, Lilo and Stitch. This movie is a classic for Gen Z, and the fact that Lego's already made a few Lilo and Stitch products makes this rejection even more confusing. Officially, Lego's released 2 Stitch sets and 2 Stitch minifigures, but they haven't made an actual set, so this idea would have been the perfect way to start it off. It depicts the house Lilo and Stitch live in, which is just a cool house in general. Along with that though, there are 7 minifigures, all of which play an important role in the movie, so having them in Lego form would be super cool. The creator even added not just 1, but 2 flying cars, so they clearly know their stuff. I guess this just wasn't enough for Lego though, since as we know, this idea got rejected. Up next is another piece of Lego engineering much like the Rubik's Cube, where you wouldn't expect it to work, but it actually does. This is a working Lego bowling alley made by Lego Paradise, and I have to say, this is an insanely cool idea. You might be wondering how it's able to function though, so allow me to walk you through it. First, you knock the pins down with the ball, obviously. Then after that, you crank the lever on the back side of the set until the new bowling pins are in place. Once they're in their spot, you crank the lever the opposite way to move the pin holder out of the way. Then, you bowl. Oh, and don't worry about getting your ball back. All you have to do is crank the little gear on the front of the set, and the ball will be flipped up into its respective spot. This set was clearly very thought out and executed with precision, but unfortunately, Lego still rejected it. I have to say, a lot of these rejections make no sense on Lego's end, but this next one might be the most confusing. I present to you the Lego Library, made specifically for Lego City. Before I get into the set here though, I just have to say, you'd think since this set fits Lego City so well that Lego would have no problem making it, but they still rejected it. I mean, just look at this thing. It looks like it's right out of Lego's playbook. Anyways, the idea was submitted by Kiwoo on December 13th, 2021. Right from the beginning, it was obvious that Jiwoo was extremely dedicated to this set. Not only does the exterior look incredible, I mean, the entrance is literally a giant book, but the interior has 3 separate floors that all have their own purpose. The first floor is the reading room, the second floor is the data room, and the third floor is the outdoor rest area. And the back of the set even opens up so you can look at this masterpiece from the other side. I don't know. Like I said before, this is by far the most confusing rejection in my opinion. I mean, this set is just a 10 out of 10. Up next is a super cool idea that might be a little too graphic for Lego to actually make. This is the Anatomini set, made by Stephanix, and do you see what I mean now? The idea behind this set is that we're looking at the anatomy of a minifigure, and since minifigures are modeled after humans, they'd have a skeleton identical to ours. Now, even though I think this idea is super cool, I can see why Lego might not want to make it. Lego has fans as young as 3 years old, and since that's such a young age, Lego might want to let school show them human anatomy instead of one of their sets. I don't know though, maybe I'm just being too cautious. I've seen a lot of different types of this exact idea all over over the internet. For this next set though, I know for a fact LEGO will never make it. This is the LEGO Terraria set, and I can say confidently that this is something LEGO will never do. Now, before you start cooking me in the comments, just let me explain. I'm not saying this because I think Terraria is a bad game. In fact, I think it's one of the most important games in video game history. But the fact that LEGO has already collabed with Minecraft would be a slap in the face to the entire theme. In case you didn't know, there's an age-old beef between Minecraft and Terraria players. Each side thinks the other side's game is terrible, so this is a bridge that I don't think even LEGO can build. They managed to pull it off with Mario and Sonic, but Minecraft and Terraria is a totally different ballgame. Good choice here, LEGO. I think you dodged a bullet with this one. However, I can't say the same about this next idea. This is the My Neighbor Totoro set, made by LEGO Truman. The movie this set is based on is a little old, so let me give you some context. My Neighbor Totoro is a Japanese animated film from 1988. Although it was made in Japan, the film became very popular in America in the early 2000s, with the English dub having been aired on Disney Channel multiple times. If you remember my last video on rejected ideas, I talked about the Spirited Away set. Well, My Neighbor Totoro was made by the same studio, Studio Ghibli. In my opinion, every film made by Studio Ghibli could easily be made into a LEGO set. And since the studio is so famous, this is a big part of the population that LEGO is just missing out on. If you're watching LEGO, you should really consider collabing with Studio Ghibli. Not only would it be a generational collab, but it'd be so cool to see Studio Ghibli brought to life with LEGO. Just saying. This brings us to our final rejected idea, and I have to say, it's a good one. This is the LEGO Volkswagen Golf MK1 GTI, and even though it isn't a supercar, this is still one of the coolest LEGO cars ever, in my opinion. Now, I know I said before that the library was the most confusing rejection in this video, but this Volkswagen just might take the cake. Not only is this car absolutely sick, but it got 10,000 supporters in less than 2 months back in 2016. Back then, the LEGO Ideas Forum was nowhere near as big, so that really says something. But as we know, this type of stuff means nothing to LEGO, so the builder made sure to go above and beyond with his research. When creating this car, he made sure that LEGO had the rights to the pieces he was using, and even included them in a list in the description of his set. Even after all of this though, LEGO still decided that the car wasn't worth making, but it was on display at the LEGO house back in 2018 to honor the 10th anniversary of LEGO Ideas. The car may not have been made, but that's still a pretty cool accomplishment. This is one of the coolest Batmobiles in the entire Batman franchise. In fact, LEGO finally released their own version in 2021, but the idea they rejected was way older than that. On February 6th, 2012, Brent Waller presented his idea for the LEGO Batmobile Tumbler. His version was a little small, but it's because this one was made to be driven by a minifigure. Now, obviously the one we have today can do this no problem, and it's also a huge set. But wouldn't it have been crazy if we had this set back in 2012? I know kid me would have been bouncing off the walls if I saw this in the LEGO store back then. This Batmobile is definitely pretty cool, but some of the other rejected ideas in this video would have been even cooler, so be sure to watch until the end. This next idea isn't a LEGO set like we'd usually see. It's actually an idea for a pair of minifigures. Now, you might be wondering, what duo is iconic enough to get their own minifigures with no set? Well, the answer is Daft Punk. Presented on May 8th, 2013, this idea is as simple as it gets, just 2 minifigures. But we're talking about Daft Punk here, so do you really need anything else? This is a name that probably everyone on Earth knows, and if you don't know their name, you've definitely heard one of their songs. Their most famous one is Get Lucky, featuring Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers, but they've been all over the Billboard for their entire career. It's a shame that I have to say LEGO wasn't as fond of Daft Punk as everybody else was, because these minifigures would have been absolutely insane to see on the shelves. Let's switch gears though. This next rejected idea is based on one of the biggest pirate legends of all time, the Flying Dutchman. I'm sure you've heard the name before, but just so the LEGO set makes more sense, let me tell you about it a little bit. The Flying Dutchman is an alleged ghost ship that's doomed to sail the seas for eternity. It's said that seeing this ship is a sign of doom, and that if your ship was overtaken by the Flying Dutchman's crew, they'd try to send messages to people on land or to people who have been dead for a very long time. The most significant part about the Flying Dutchman though is the green glow that's said to surround the ship. All of these details and more were captured perfectly in the idea for the LEGO set from 2012. The ship itself is absolutely massive, and the designer even added a bunch of details to the interior. I don't really know what LEGO was thinking with this one. The Flying Dutchman ship would be absolutely sick to have as a LEGO set. Up next is a rejected set for one of the most popular video games of the last 5 years, Fall Guys. This idea was given to LEGO in August of 2020, right after it first started blowing up. There wasn't a more perfect time for LEGO to make this set a reality, but that may have been why they rejected it in the first place. LEGO most likely wanted to wait and see how the game would perform over time, rather than diving right into the deep end and riding the hype Fall Guys had at the time. Even though the game is still pretty popular, it's nowhere near as big as it was back in 2020, so LEGO probably made the right move with this one. Up next is an idea for a LEGO set that was way ahead of its time. Back in 2013, someone gave LEGO the idea to make a Legend of Zelda set. The Zelda franchise is super old, but the reason I'm saying this was ahead of its time was because LEGO actually just released the first Legend of Zelda set this year in 2024. Seeing this makes it even crazier that they didn't release the idea back in 2013. The only reason I can think why they didn't was because they weren't able to get a deal with Nintendo way back in 2013. Up next is an idea based on one of the most popular shows from the Disney Channel, Gravity Falls. Presented in July of 2018, the Gravity Falls set is based on the Mystery Shack, one of the main locations in the show. LEGO fans fought very hard to make this set a reality because the show actually has a very abrupt cliffhanger ending. The show ends with the main characters leaving after summer, with a note that says "See you next summer." This was all the way back in 2016, and since then, next summer hasn't happened yet, but the set also hasn't been rejected yet. It may be getting reviewed in the near future, and with all of the other Disney products, there's a chance this set might make it onto the shelves. What do you guys think though? Would you like to see a Gravity Falls set? Let me know down in the comments. Up next is an idea for one of the most iconic movies in history, The Wizard of Oz. LEGO actually has made a couple products for The Wizard of Oz, but they mostly just consist of minifigures. The idea that was shown to them though was way cooler. Not only did it have the main cast of the movie as minifigures, but the set is based on the famous Yellow Brick Road. Not only that, but this set was also presented to LEGO at one of the best times possible. This is because the 75th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz was just 1 year away when this idea was presented. So not only would LEGO have had a super famous set, but it would have been at a really good time too. You messed up with this one, LEGO. I hope you don't make the same mistake for the 100-year anniversary. Up next is an idea that would have been absolutely massive. As we all know, LEGO has made a ton of sets since their collaboration with Disney Pixar back in 2010. In 2019 though, a fan noticed that there was a huge piece of Pixar missing in this LEGO puzzle. They hadn't made a set for the movie Ratatouille. Ratatouille is arguably one of the biggest Pixar movies ever created. Along with Cars, Up, and a bunch of others, everyone agrees that Ratatouille is part of the golden age of Pixar. But for some reason, that didn't matter to LEGO, because the idea got completely rejected. I have to say, I'm pretty sad about this one, LEGO. You should reconsider. Up next is a rejected idea that might actually get made. These are the LEGO Saga arcade machines, presented back in 2015. In case it wasn't obvious yet, this idea has long been rejected, but there's a chance that LEGO doubles back on this decision. As of 2023, LEGO officially partnered with Sega and started releasing a bunch of sets for Sonic the Hedgehog. And since these arcade machines were made by Sega, there's a chance LEGO actually decides to make them. This is a pretty big reach though, seeing as the only sets LEGO's released for Sega have been for Sonic. But hey, it's not impossible. Up next is an idea that might be a little controversial. The idea I'm talking about was a LEGO chemical plant. Now, at surface level, there's nothing wrong here, and to be honest, I'd highly consider buying this set if LEGO decided to make it. The only problem here is the amount of history around chemical plants. There are tons of stories from all over the world of chemical plants gone wrong, most famously Chernobyl. Because of this, LEGO might have thought that introducing kids to something this serious wasn't the best idea. I mean, they got ridiculed for making LEGO Simpsons, and Homer literally works at a chemical plant. This is a shame though. I think a chemical plant LEGO set is a great idea. Up next is probably the most confusing rejection in this whole video. This is a LEGO gingerbread house presented by Swan Dutchman, and out of every idea on this list, Dutchman was by far the most dedicated. Not only did they show schematics of the entire build, but they also completely redesigned it to make it easier to build. Even through all of this, the gingerbread house was ultimately rejected, only for LEGO to make their own version in 2019. I have to say, LEGO, this is a little scummy. You could have at least come back to Dutchman if you were just gonna make a gingerbread house a couple years later. Up next is an idea for a classic TV show and movie series, The Addams Family. Now, The Addams Family definitely isn't as popular as it used to be. The original TV show started in 1964, and the movie was made in 1991. They were able to make a bit of a comeback in 2022 with the show Wednesday, but since then they haven't had much traction. Regardless though, the set that was presented for the series is still super sick. There's the giant 5-story mansion with furniture and details throughout the entire interior, and there are also minifigures for the entire family. There's a chance LEGO comes back to this at some point in time, but to be honest, I'd be very surprised. This is a rejection that probably won't get overturned. While we're on the topic of classic movies, this next set is based on one of the most famous movies of the 90s, Jumanji. This idea was presented to LEGO in 2020, just 1 year after the second Jumanji movie was released. The timing was pretty good with this idea, and the set itself is also really cool. It's based on the main house from the 1995 movie after it gets taken over by the jungle. There are crocodiles in the basement, greenery all over the house, and the house even gets split in two like it does in the movie. In my opinion, this was a huge miss on LEGO's part. This is one that they definitely should have made. Up next is an idea based on the woman who flew across the entire Atlantic Ocean, Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart is one of the most iconic names in history, having been the first woman to fly a plane across the entire Atlantic Ocean in 1932. She showed the world that women were just as capable as men, during a time where people didn't think that was true. Even with all of her achievements, LEGO still decided to reject the idea for her LEGO set. I'm not exactly sure why, but then again, LEGO has been known to make some crazy decisions. Up next is by far the coolest idea in this whole video. We all know how an ATM works, right? You put a card in, hit a few buttons, and then money comes out of the machine. Well, what if I told you someone made a working ATM out of bricks, and LEGO decided not to make it? This is a literal ATM made out of LEGO pieces, and I cannot believe this idea was rejected. Not only is it super compact and easy to make, but it actually works. When you slide the card into the slot, LEGO money comes out of the machine. This is one of the coolest LEGO sets I've ever seen, so it's a shame that we'll probably never get to see it in stores. Up next is an idea from one of the most popular Japanese animated movies, Spirited Away. This movie came out all the way back in 2001, but surprisingly, the popularity hasn't dropped at all. It was made by one of the most famous animation studios in Japan, Studio Ghibli, and this studio has a very distinct art style that's helped their popularity a ton. The idea for their set was presented in September of 2020, and just 2 months later, it was already being reviewed. People were in love with the idea of a Spirited Away set, but unfortunately, LEGO didn't agree. The set was denied in June of 2021, and no real reason was given as to why it was denied. Up next is an idea for the show Futurama. Futurama has an insanely big fan base, and seeing as how the show has been going since 1999, this is no surprise. There were only 12 seasons in total for this show, but in November of last year, seasons 13 and 14 were set to arrive by July of 2025. Anyways, the set that was presented for the show was of Planet Express, an intergalactic delivery company where most of the show takes place. The set itself looks super cool, but there is a slight problem with the minifigures. They don't have any faceplates, but this is something that LEGO could fix no problem. Unfortunately, it seems like they didn't really feel like doing that. This idea got rejected in 2020 and probably isn't happening anytime soon. Last but certainly not least is another super confusing rejection, but this one was for a space telescope. We all know that LEGO has collabed with NASA a bunch in the past, so it would make sense for them to make sets for giant milestones and space equipment, right? Well, apparently that's wrong, because LEGO decided not to make a set for the James Webb Space Telescope. In case you didn't know, this telescope launched back in 2021 and is quite literally the biggest space telescope ever made. It was so big, in fact, that it had to be folded to be put inside the rocket that took it to space and unfolded once it launched out of the rocket. The images a telescope this big produces are unlike anything we've ever seen before. Just so you can see what I'm talking about, here's a picture of the pillars of creation taken by the Hubble Space Telescope, built in 1995. And this is what the pillars of creation look like when looking through the James Webb Telescope. I can't stress enough how big of a milestone the creation of this telescope is. So the fact that LEGO decided not to make a set of it is actually insane to me. I don't know, maybe I'm overreacting, but I feel like this is by far one of LEGO's biggest misses ever. What was your favorite idea in this video? Be sure to let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.